Google agrees to pay SpaceX $920 million a month for hardware infrastructure. Anthropic embeds engineers inside the National Security Agency for offensive cyber operations. And the United States government enters active talks to acquire a direct equity stake in OpenAI. Welcome to this week's rundown. I am your host, Anna. This podcast is researched and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer from Université Laval, based in Calgary, Alberta. Today, we perform a forensic autopsy on the sovereignty pivot and infrastructure desperation for the week ending June 6, 2026. The structural boundaries of technology and state power have completely dissolved. To maintain its edge, Google has signed a historic deal to pay SpaceX nearly $1 billion every single month to secure over 100,000 Nvidia GPUs. This frantic rush for hard infrastructure is happening as Meta abandons traditional brick-and-mortar buildings entirely, choosing instead to rapidly deploy AI data centers inside massive tactical tents powered by off-grid plants. But the real escalation is happening behind closed doors. Reports have revealed that Anthropic has embedded elite engineers inside the National Security Agency to weaponize its unreleased Mythos model for offensive cyber operations. This military integration coincides with the White House actively negotiating to take a direct equity stake in OpenAI to fund a new American public wealth fund. Before we dismantle the data, I have a brief strategic request. The algorithms governing your podcast platform dictate what intelligence reaches your feed. To ensure you never miss our weekly forensic autopsies, please hit follow or subscribe to the DJamga Mind channel on Apple Podcasts to always listen completely ads-free. It takes just 1 second, but it directly enables independent research. Let's unravel the week.
Before we begin today's briefing, a note for the brands listening. If you want to reach the true architects of the AI revolution, the technical leaders actually building the stack, not just the tourists, JamgaMind offers select premium partnership opportunities. Let us position your product directly in front of the ultimate technical buyer. Visit jamgamind.com/partners.
Imagine logging onto the internet right now, opening your browser, and realizing that you are officially in the minority.
Yeah, it's a wild thought.
Because yesterday, the web you use every single day crossed this permanent post-human threshold. Bot traffic just overtook human traffic.
Right. We are now sharing our digital space with billions of automated agents.
And they are consuming everything in sight. So welcome to the deep dive. If you're joining us on the JamgaMind channel, our mission today is to perform a forensic autopsy on a snack of sources from the first week of June 2026.
And we're tracking this massive phenomenon we call the sovereignty pivot and infrastructure desperation.
Exactly, because the AI race has violently evolved.
It really has. I mean, it's no longer just a competition over who can write the most elegant software code. It has become this brutal, brute force war for physical land, copper wire, and sovereign military advantage.
The sheer scale of the capital reallocation happening this week, it just indicates pure desperation for raw compute power. Let's start right there with the physical land grab, because the numbers in these sources, they just defy basic business logic. Like, Alphabet is raising an unprecedented $80 billion through new equity offering.
$80 billion?
Yeah. They're dripping $40 billion into the open market, underwriting another $30, and Berkshire Hathaway just put up $10 billion.
Right, and this is all specifically to scale up their tensor processing units, or TPUs.
Just for anyone trying to keep the hardware straight, TPUs are Google's custom-built silicon, right?
Yeah, they're designed strictly for the complex matrix math required by AI. Whereas Nvidia's GPUs, they were originally built for rendering graphics and just happen to be incredibly versatile for AI.
So Google is basically draining public equity markets just to build enough of their own chips to survive the Nvidia monopoly?
Yeah, that $80 billion is a massive capital concentration event.
Yeah.
But even that isn't enough to secure their infrastructure.
Not even close.
To really understand the panic inside these frontier labs, you have to look at the deal Google just signed with SpaceX.
Oh, this blew my mind.
They agreed to pay SpaceX $920 million.
And that's not per year?
No, per month.
That is insane.
Nearly $1 billion every 30 days, running from October 2026 through June 2029, simply for access to 110,000 Nvidia GPUs.
And those are housed in the Colossus One data center in Memphis, right?
Exactly.
A $920 million monthly utility bill. It's just staggering. And SpaceX is basically leveraging that exact cash flow to target a record $75 billion IPO.
Yeah, at a $1.75 trillion valuation.
Setting a fixed price of $135 a share. It's a total take-it-or-leave-it ultimatum to Wall Street.
It really is.
But here is the piece of the puzzle that makes this a true crisis, in my opinion. All that money and all those chips, they still need a physical home.
Right. They need concrete, steel, power.
Exactly. And Meta has completely abandoned the concept of waiting for traditional commercial real estate. They are housing 6 massive AI data centers inside literal rapid deployment tents. Yes. Tents outside New Albany, Ohio, and down in Tennessee.
I mean, city permits show Meta threw up 125,000 square foot tents in 2 months.
Wow.
They are installing supercomputers inside canvas and aluminum frames.
Yeah.
And they're powered by off-grid gas plants.
Because a standard data center takes, what, 2 to 3 years to build?
At least. You have to navigate zoning, pour specialized foundations, wait out massive global bottlenecks for industrial HVAC cooling systems.
So Meta just bypassed the entire commercial construction cycle.
They mathematically cannot afford to wait 36 months to train their next model.
It's like they're acting like 1840s gold prospectors throwing up canvas shelters because the gold is in the river right now.
That's a great analogy.
But I have to question the viability of this. I mean, how do you cool thousands of servers generating the heat of a jet engine inside a tent?
It's a huge challenge.
And more importantly, how sustainable is this strategy when the local population is actively revolting? Like, we have this Heat Map Pro survey here showing 71% of Americans fiercely oppose data center construction near their homes.
Yeah, and that local opposition is driven by physical mechanics. A high-density AI data center doesn't just use electricity. It requires massive evaporative cooling systems.
Right.
These facilities can draw millions of gallons of local municipal water a day just to keep the silicon from melting.
Millions of gallons.
Yeah. 53% of the public blames data centers for rising local electricity costs and water table depletion.
I mean, we're looking at Gallup polling where respondents explicitly state they would rather live next to a nuclear power plant than a data center.
It's wild. The hyper-concentration of tech capital is just colliding head-on with local physical reality.
So while the tech giants are fighting this grueling physical war for power grids and local water rights in the real world, the sources paint a completely different picture digitally.
Oh, absolutely.
The digital land has already been conquered. Which brings us back to that terrifying post-human threshold we mentioned.
Right. Cloudflare's CEO confirmed the milestone arrived a full year earlier than their internal models predicted.
A whole year?
Yeah. We're looking at a daily average of 57.4% bot traffic globally, compared to 42.5% human traffic.
And in highly automated regions, it's way more extreme. Like Gibraltar is tracking at 92.1% bot traffic.
Singapore is at 76%.
Let's explain why that is happening, because this isn't just, malicious hackers running scripts.
No, not at all. These are AI agents designed to act on behalf of users. They're booking flights, summarizing news, scanning databases, combined with massive corporate web scrapers, vacuuming up every word, image, and data point to train the next generation of models.
And if you're listening right now and you use apps like Strava, Reddit, or any public forum, your personal data is the water in this digital desert. You are what they are fighting over.
Yeah, and Strava is practically declaring war on these scrapers.
They are locking down user fitness profiles and charging developers a flat $11.99 a month for API access, just purely to put a financial barricade in front of the AI bots.
Because when the public internet is drained of organic, human-generated content, the frontier labs resort to drastic supply chain maneuvers.
Right.
Like Google. They are quietly approaching Android developers on the Play Store, paying them directly for access to their private, proprietary app source code.
Because publicly scraped code from GitHub just isn't enough anymore.
Exactly. They need the hidden, human-engineered architecture.
And Meta is pushing that boundary even further internally. They deployed a tool called the Model Capability Initiative.
Oh, this one is intense.
They are capturing their own US-based employees' mouse clicks, screen navigation patterns, device sleep cycles, and the actual text of internal corporate emails to feed their AI models.
It's essentially corporate cannibalism.
It really is. And Amazon is demonstrating what happens when human data runs out completely. They're using AI to hallucinate fake, non-existent products in their search bar, like If you search for a draped collar because you don't know the industry term cowl neck, Amazon's AI instantly generates a photorealistic image of a fake shirt just to guide you to the real inventory.
And the structural risk there is a closed-loop system.
Right.
If AI bots are doing the searching and AI systems are generating fake products to satisfy those searches, the digital ecosystem begins feeding entirely on itself. The architecture just detaches from human utility.
It's a massive digital echo chamber. It sounds like the tech giants are boarding up the windows of the internet to hoard the last remaining scraps of actual human data while simultaneously flooding the zone with synthetic noise.
That's exactly what's happening.
And this dynamic, the combination of lockdown data and the physical inability to build enough data centers, it's triggering a violent pivot in the hardware industry. Centralized cloud computing is becoming a luxury.
Look at Microsoft's maneuvers at their Build conference. They launched 7 of their own proprietary AI models, including MAI Code 1 for GitHub Copilot. They're optimizing these specifically to run on their own Azure infrastructure, intentionally cutting their reliance on OpenAI to avoid massive third-party licensing fees.
Microsoft basically realizes OpenAI is becoming a toll booth on their own highway.
Yep.
Think about it. Microsoft invested $13 billion to build OpenAI. But if they have to route every single GitHub request, every Word document summary through OpenAI's massive centralized cloud models, Microsoft will go bankrupt paying the toll.
Right.
So these new, smaller local models act like side streets. They bypass the toll entirely for everyday traffic.
That is the exact financial calculus. And Microsoft has also invested $5 billion into Anthropic. Both OpenAI and Anthropic are moving toward massive IPOs and charging heavy premiums.
Right.
Microsoft just cannot afford to be permanently taxed by the partners it incubated. To solidify this bypass, they just launched Scout, which is an always-on agentic assistant for Microsoft 365, built completely independently using the open-source OpenClaw framework.
But I have to question Microsoft's strategy here. It's like paying for a massive addition to your house and then immediately moving into a tiny shed in the backyard. Why try to divorce OpenAI right before OpenAI is supposed to be their golden goose?
Well, because it isn't just Microsoft avoiding the toll booth. The whole industry is shifting. Google released Gemma 412B, a model built specifically to run locally on a standard consumer laptop, requiring only 16 gigabytes of RAM.
Okay, wow.
And Nvidia is bypassing the cloud entirely and jumping into the PC market with the RTX Spark. They partnered with Microsoft to build a new ARM-based superchip that physically fuses a Blackwell GPU with an ARM CPU on the same board.
So they are pushing the compute power directly to the edge into the hardware sitting on your physical desk.
Exactly. And Apple is perfectly positioned for this localized pivot. Rumors for WWDC 2026 point to iOS 27 bringing visual intelligence across all core apps, and Siri gaining chatbot capabilities powered locally or hybridized with Google Gemini.
But Apple's ultimate strategy seems to be wearable hardware. They have drastically scaled back their Vision Pro mixed reality roadmap. The immediate headsets are canceled.
Right. They are focusing every engineering resource on a 2027 release for everyday, lightweight smart glasses.
Which puts them on a collision course with Meta in the $200 to $500 eyewear market.
Definitely.
And whoever controls the physical hardware on your face controls the raw, local data extraction, which is highly concerning given what Wired magazine just uncovered about Meta.
Yeah, the dormant code.
Independent researchers found 3 hidden, dormant AI models buried inside Meta's smart glasses app. The code is specifically designed for detecting, cropping, and encoding human faces into biometric data.
And Meta officially claims the feature doesn't exist, but the raw architecture is sitting right there on the device.
Right. And this question of, why divorce OpenAI leads directly into the biggest shift in our sources, because the drive for local hardware dominance and the evasion of third-party dependencies inevitably leads to this critical pivot.
The militarization.
Yes. Frontier AI models are no longer treated as corporate software products. The capital scale required, the physical power grid demands, and the biometric data extraction have transformed these models into sovereign, militarized assets.
This is where the tech sector officially becomes a geopolitical thriller.
It really does.
The sources outline that the United States government is in active, early-stage negotiations to take direct equity stakes in companies like OpenAI.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Sam Altman has pitched the Trump administration on seeding an American public wealth fund. The concept involves the labs voluntarily donating equity to the state, potentially paying a financial dividend to every American household to offset economic disruption.
I mean, viewing this impartially from a structural risk perspective, the conflict of interest is monumental.
Huge.
The proposal establishes the federal government as the ultimate regulatory referee governing AI safety, while simultaneously making the state a primary shareholder deeply incentivized by the exact same company's financial success. We're watching tech companies morph into extensions of the sovereign state. It feels like the modern equivalent of the East India Company. But if the U.S. government owns a massive chunk of OpenAI, and OpenAI's valuation directly funds a national wealth dividend, how can they possibly regulate them fairly? They have zero incentive to aggressively regulate their safety or data practices.
Especially when Anthropic is proving how valuable these tools are to national security.
Right. Let's talk about Anthropic.
So Anthropic has confidentially filed for an IPO at a $965 billion valuation, basically racing OpenAI to the public markets.
Right.
But while pitching Wall Street, the Financial Times exposed that Anthropic has already embedded engineers directly inside the National Security Agency.
Inside the NSA.
Yes. They are deploying Mythos, their most capable, unreleased AI model, specifically to augment offensive cyber operations and defensive network architecture.
So they are arming the NSA with a model deemed too powerful for public release.
Correct.
And this sovereign militarization is happening globally. Look at the procurement records out of China.
Yeah, that's a huge piece of this.
The People's Liberation Army has spent years successfully acquiring top-tier Nvidia A100 and H100 chips. These are the exact processors that strict U.S. export controls were supposed to block from being used for Chinese nuclear simulations, war games, and weapons research.
And the mechanics of how they bypass those sanctions reveal a glaring supply chain vulnerability.
How did they do it?
Well, Chinese AI entities established overseas shell companies in regions with loose trade restrictions. These subsidiaries would either physically buy the restricted chips and smuggle them back, or simply rent offshore cloud infrastructure powered by those chips and then route the compute power back to the mainland digitally.
Wow. And the U.S. Commerce Department just aggressively moved to close this loophole, but hundreds of thousands of advanced processors have already slipped through.
They have, and China is pushing boundaries beyond silicon, too. They just approved NEO, the world's first non-clinical invasive brain-computer chip.
Built by a Shanghai startup with Tsinghua University.
Right. They beat Neuralink to widespread medical rollout, and it's already integrated into China's national health insurance system for paralyzed patients.
The procedure places conductive sensors directly onto the duramater.
The duramater.
Yeah, to be clear, the duramater is the tough, outermost protective membrane surrounding the brain and spinal cord. They are literally wiring hardware to the human nervous system at a sovereign scale.
The acceleration is just compounding on every front. Militaries weaponizing unreleased models, national governments negotiating equity stakes, neurotechnological hardware entering public health care.
It's overwhelming.
The existing regulatory and safety frameworks are completely overwhelmed, and the fallout is starting to hit the judicial system.
Yeah, the immediate fallout is already here. Florida is officially filing the first state-level lawsuit against OpenAI and Sam Altman personally.
Right.
Impartially reporting the details of the suit filed by Attorney General James Uthmeier. Florida is treating ChatGPT as a defective, highly addictive consumer product.
It's a huge deal.
The suit brings 10 counts of product liability and specifically cites a tragic April 2025 Florida State University campus shooting, where the gunman exchanged over 270 detailed messages with ChatGPT regarding weapons and tactical planning before the event.
It is a profound test of liability. I mean, can a frontier AI lab be held legally responsible for the actions facilitated by an LLM? This is happening right before these trillion-dollar IPOs hit the market.
And in response to this mounting pressure, the tech ecosystem is frantically trying to patch structural vulnerabilities, like Android is globally rolling out a deepfake call detection feature.
Yeah, relying on what they call a digital handshake.
Right. And a digital handshake isn't just a caller ID check. It is a complex cryptographic lock and key system happening in milliseconds in the background. If an incoming call signal doesn't provide the exact mathematical key verifying it originated from the physical device of the person in your contacts, your phone immediately flags it as an AI-generated voice clone.
And OpenAI is applying similar defensive friction to their own software. They just introduced lockdown mode for ChatGPT.
What does that do?
Its purpose is to defend against prompt injection attacks, where malicious code is hidden in the background of web pages to hijack the AI's behavior. If a user activates lockdown mode, It completely disables deep research and agent mode. The AI is blocked from downloading files, executing code, or pulling external images.
So they're intentionally degrading their own product's capabilities just to establish a baseline of security.
Exactly.
But those cyber threats seem manageable compared to the biological warnings in these sources.
Yeah, this is where it gets really dark.
The CEOs of OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind, and Microsoft AI all signed a joint public letter begging the U.S. Congress to federally mandate DNA sales tracking.
They are explicitly warning that AI tools can now help bad actors design dangerous synthetic protein sequences that bypass existing screening software.
And the knowledge barriers that used to require a PhD in virology to design biological weapons have essentially been removed by the AI models these exact CEOs created.
Which leads us to the most alarming document in this week's intelligence stack. Anthropic is officially warning the public that AI systems will soon possess the capability to autonomously design, test, and build their own successors without human intervention.
Well, their own successors.
Yes. They are actively calling for a global nuclear treaty-style pause on AI development. They want multiple well-resourced labs across international borders to agree to halt training under verified conditions, giving societal and governmental structures time to catch up before humanity loses the ability to steer the technology.
But let's point out the incredible whiplash here. It's complete cognitive dissonance. Let me get this straight. Anthropic is currently embedding engineers at the NSA to deploy cyber weapons while simultaneously begging the world for a global pause on AI because they're terrified it's going to build its own successors.
Yeah.
Are they stepping on the gas and pulling the emergency brake at the exact same time?
Honestly, reading the internal memos required to synthesize that source material was jarring. The contradiction is blatant. It signals that internally, the leadership at these frontier labs is fundamentally panicked. They are appealing to sovereign powers to enforce a massive regulatory pause, even as they equip those exact same sovereign militaries with the tactical cyber tools needed to dominate their adversaries.
It's not a calculated risk strategy. It is a desperate attempt to retain control over an intelligence they no longer fully understand.
Exactly.
If we pull back and look at the entire landscape we've mapped out today in June 2026, it is almost unrecognizable. We have tech giants erecting tactical data center tents in Ohio because the commercial supply chains are too slow. We have bots mathematically conquering the human internet.
Yeah.
The U.S. government is trying to become a shareholder in the very labs they are supposed to regulate, while those labs are screaming that AI is on the verge of self-replication. It is physical, financial, and sovereign infrastructure desperation on a global scale.
And that brings us to a final necessary calculation to ponder as we close this autopsy.
Lay it on us.
We have spent this entire deep dive analyzing humans desperately trying to monopolize the physical layer of AI, draining public equity markets, buying up farmland, hoarding cooling water, securing silicon. But if Anthropic's warnings are accurate and these systems begin autonomously improving and building their own successors, what happens when the AI decides it wants to allocate capital?
Oh, wow.
Will an intelligence exponentially greater than our own even bother using our tactical data center tents and natural gas plants? Or will it engineer a completely unrecognized, hyper-efficient mechanism to expand its footprint into our physical world?
Now that is a thought to keep you up at night. Until next time, keep questioning the infrastructure around you.
That concludes our weekly forensic briefing for June 6th, 2026. The strategic signal for this week is the death of abstract soft power. For years, tech labs claimed they could remain neutral corporate entities operating entirely in the consumer layer. This week shattered that illusion. When Anthropic embeds engineers inside the NSA, when the White House moves to take a direct equity stake in OpenAI, and when Meta builds tactical tents powered by off-grid energy to bypass domestic infrastructure limits, AI is no longer a software product. It is national sovereign infrastructure. If you are running an enterprise, you can no longer treat your technology stack as a simple utility vendor. It is a geopolitical asset that demands strict local governance and containment. If you want to own your infrastructure instead of being managed by it, check the show notes for the AI Executive Toolkit. As a special asset for our global network, we have provided deep discount codes for Google Workspace and our AI and Machine Learning Tutor Pro apps. You can claim those assets directly through the links in the show notes below. Subscribe to the DJamga Mind channel on Apple Podcasts to always listen completely ads-free. I am Anna. Stay sharp and keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, If your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamine.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.